Welcome to the Legend of Podcast Trails Through Trails, the show where we're usually playing through the long-running Trails series game by game, but today are changing it up a bit to talk about the demo that's dropped for the remake of the first game. I'm your host, Lex, and I use she, her pronouns.
I'm Matt, I use he, him, and we have an extra special third voice on the show with us today.
Hi, I'm Brendon Bigley. I also use he, him pronouns. Thank you for having me.
Hello, Brendon. Welcome to the show.
I'm so happy to be here. I'm so excited to be here talking about Trails.
Yes, it's been a long time coming.
It has been a long time coming. It has been years and years of trying to get into this franchise, and there has never been a better time to talk about it than right now with this demo,
Truly.
this demonstration.
I logged onto Twitch just out of curiosity. It was in the recommended games to watch streams of. There were 78 people streaming this game.
Hey.
So it's basically a cultural phenomenon.
Hell yeah.
Oh, wow. It's the next Fortnite.
Oh yeah.
I'm calling it now. Yeah. They're going to add gorillas to Trails in the Sky next, I think is the plan.
I mean, they do have gorillas in Cold Steel that you fight, so you never know. There's this one weird gorilla monster that I never forget because he's like the first boss that I actually had to start over multiple times.
I love that.
I literally was just playing Cold Steel 1 before this. I decided to restart to get more New Game Plus points for the podcast. And the first thing I did was put everyone in their casual outfits because I'm doing New Game Plus. I can have fun. And it just immediately becomes obvious compared to the outfits they all get as their unique looks later in the series. It's very clear they're all dressed by their mum in these casual outfits. It's a lot of layered sweaters and mismatched scarves. Denim. Just denim because it's durable and you don't grow out of it.
They're in Canadian tuxedos.
Close enough, yeah. I'm pretty sure one of them is wearing corduroy pants.
Does that fit the vibe of the country that they're in?
Not at all.
No? Okay.
They're in the Empire, right? The militaristic Empire. They're students at Military Academy. So you'd expect them to be either in like camo or like really preppy clothes because they all go to this expensive military boarding school.
I do think denim is good for war, right? Like historically.
True.
I mean, it's technologically the country is pretty advanced. There's a lot of jumps that happen during Cold Steel, but they start off with laptops.
No, they have desktop computers. They don't get laptops till the third game.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Laptops are a later edition.
They have to go into a special room in the school to learn to use computers.
But they do get laptops eventually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
They get laptops before internet.
Are the laptops still powered by orb mints?
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Awesome.
It's wild.
What a franchise, huh?
And they all have flip phones, though. No matter how far, even once they're smartphones, they're still flip phones.
That's good. Yeah, I just think aesthetically flip phones are kind of like peak communication technology.
Absolutely.
The drama of flicking it open and closed.
Yeah, which is why we're going back to them in real life.
Look, we've been downhill as a society ever since, and that's why bad things happen in the world, because we've abandoned
The Motorola Razr.
Yeah.
If it's good enough for Cloud Strife, it's good enough for me, is all I'm saying.
It's good enough for Sephiroth. In Crisis Core, Sephiroth's using a flip phone. Come on.
And all of his clones also use flip phones in Advent Children.
They do. As it should be.
Even Vincent gets in on the action by the end, so come on.
Vincent's got a flip phone. You're absolutely right. Well, thank God Motorola is making the Razr again, is all I'm saying. Maybe we'll get back on track, make up for the lost years.
Thank gosh. Get back into the good timeline.
We're good to go!
This is the remake of a game that all of us have some experience with before. So we've spent an entire season on the show talking about it. But Brendon, why don't you tell everyone about your experience with Trails, just so we know we're coming in.
Yeah, Trails is fascinating. I think for people who have listened to another show that I do called Into the Aether, you may know that it took me a long time to get into RPGs in general. Like when we started doing the podcast, I wasn't even a fan of RPGs. And then over time, eventually got more and more into them. And now I'm in this place where I'm like ravenously like scouring the corners of RPG history to find all of these franchises that I could just like swan dive into. And I feel like there's no deeper pool than Trails as a franchise. You know, it's like it's just like that. Maybe Dragon Quest and Final Fantasy are like the three that have so many entries you kind of don't even know what to do with yourself.
Yeah.
Thankfully and unbelievably, Trails is one giant continuous story the entire time. So it's pretty easy to point people in the right direction to be like, you should start with this one. Yeah. I think, you know, everyone's had this conversation a million times, but like, where do you start? You can kind of start anywhere, but you should probably start with at least the beginning of one of the sub-stories, at least, if you're not going to start with Trails in the Sky. But I started with Trails in the Sky. I started with Trails in the Sky on the PSP. years ago when I had a handheld called the Retroid Pocket 3, which basically just looked like a little PSP and like ran PSP games very well. I was like, let me get into this franchise. So I started playing it a little bit. Steven, my co-host for Into the Aether, had also gotten it on PC via Steam. So we were kind of playing it back and forth a little bit. That was my first blush with like, these games technically aren't super long, but can feel extremely long while you're playing them. So I remember during that stint of talking about it for the first couple times, I had never made it even past the prologue because I was just like, I chip away at this game every night for like a couple weeks. You know, I was working a 9 to 5 and hosting a bunch of podcasts and doing all this other stuff and trying to like live a sociable life in a city. So I was like, okay, I'll play like a half hour before bed every night. And like, 3 weeks had gone by and I was still in the prologue, which I didn't even realize until I got to the moment where it was like chapter 1. I was like, what are you talking about, chapter 1? Anyway, like a year or two goes by and I was like, I really want to get back to that game. And I booted it up and I was like, I have no idea what's happening. I forget how this game works. I don't know who these characters are. So I started the game over. And this is the beginning of my live, die, repeat Edge of Tomorrow experience with Trails in the Sky, which is that like every 6 months for the past like 3 years, I have restarted Trails in the Sky and played through the first 10 hours of it, like over and over and over and over again.
You're just Groundhog Daying the prologue.
Exactly.
I was going to describe it as Groundhog Daying. Every day you start up your car and turn left onto the new game road that goes off a cliff immediately.
Yes, pretty much. With a slight detour every once in a while, because like in Groundhog Day or Edge of Tomorrow, the protagonist does at a certain point, or Palm Springs, if you want to bring Palm Springs into it, great movie, the protagonist will try to find some way to break the cycle. So in my case, breaking the cycle involved playing Trails from Zero, also for the first 10 hours, 3 or 4 times as well, which I've never made it past the first 10 hours of both games.
Wow.
Until we did the PSP episode for Aether recently, and I finally made it to chapter 2.
Ooh.
Hey.
Thank you very much.
Are you in chapter 2 or did you finish it?
I'm in chapter 2. I have not finished chapter 2.
I have said this on the podcast before, but chapter 2 is the chapter I always say, if you finish chapter 2, you will finish Trails of the Sky FC. If you finish Trails of the Sky FC, you'll play the rest of Sky, and if you play the rest of Sky, you'll play the whole series. So you got so close.
I am very close. But the thing is, like, as we were doing the prep for that episode, I started to get to the point where I was like, well, this remake's coming out soon.
Yeah.
Like, there's a remake right around the corner. And the thing that I think is important to note is that I like the original game enough that if I finish this remake, and I will not, I know myself, I will not want to wait for them to remake the second chapter.
Yeah.
Oh, God, no.
So I'll just jump into the PC port of the second one instead, and I'll have a great time with that, realistically. So, I mean, there's fishing, right? I mean, like...
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah, I have feelings about the fishing.
Okay, you are having some sort of input delay problem where you can't catch a fish. It's got to be an issue technologically because it shouldn't be happening like that. Well, we'll have to figure this out at some point.
I don't understand what big problem there is running a game from 2005 that was designed for Windows through an emulator on a MacBook laptop with a PS5 controller hooked up to it plugged into a TV. That's complicated. What about that could go wrong?
What are you using whiskey? What are you using?
I'm using Porting Kit, which is basically an automated wineskin enabler. So basically it has a button to hook it up to my Good Old Games account where I bought the game copies. And then just a button you press and it installs it entirely for you. It's an entirely hands-off procedure. Fantastic.
What a world we live in.
And it just works.
We really do. Meanwhile, I went from Mac to PC to play Trails in the Sky. Like, I had to get a new computer and I switched to PC because I played the Cold Steel games and I was like, I need to play Sky.
That's amazing.
I didn't know about emulating in 2021 because my tech knowledge ended in 2014 and I've just kind of been, like, coasting on that ever since.
Around when Motorola stopped making the Razr. Somewhere in that vicinity, yeah.
Look, I was like, it's all downhill from here. There's no point.
It all ties back together.
Yeah.
I could do HTML coding and run a live journal. I was like, what else is there that we need?
I recently got an email from LiveJournal celebrating the 20th anniversary of not my original LiveJournal, but one of the side ones I made later on. And then I crumbled to dust and faded away.
Yeah.
You got gommaged by that.
I shouldn't have a 20-year anniversary with a website where I would post secret posts that only I could see that were just like, I am a teenager and I'm sad.
Yeah. I had to log into my old Tumblr account recently because there was literally like one GIF that I wanted to send a friend. He used to send it back and forth to each other all the time. I was like, it would be really funny if like all these years later I sent it to him again and I logged in and I was like, oh, I did have a secret like poetry Tumblr account, didn't I? I should probably just like delete this.
My Tumblr account has been temporarily deactivated because I had so many side accounts and they've installed a policy at some point since I stopped using it that you can't have that many blogs saved in your account.
Really?
So until I go back and delete all those accounts, apparently you can't find that old account, which might be for the best.
And that's my history with Trails in the Sky.
So you've jumped on the demo. Which version of the demo have you decided to play?
Okay, here's my horrible secret. It's not even a secret. I think it's worth talking through. I downloaded the demo as soon as I realized it was available. Streamed it on my PC. I have a mini PC right here where I'm recording this podcast that I use for streaming PC games. Was playing it, having an amazing time, and then when I was done streaming for the day, I went into the living room where I have my ROG Ally hooked up, which is like a handheld PC, and I have it hooked up to the TV. And I sat down to start playing the game, and it was like, cannot link your Steam Cloud save.
Oh no.
No.
So I was like, okay, well, I'm no stranger to starting Trails in the Sky over from the beginning again.
It's just the authentic experience.
Yes. So I was like, I'll just play it again. I'll skip all the cutscenes that I've already seen, and I'll probably make it through those 2.5 hours in no time flat. And that was basically true. I caught up to myself in about 45 minutes from where I had been in about 2.5 hours because I wasn't watching every cutscene play out. I wasn't doing all of the like oohing and eyeing and all the stuff that we're definitely going to talk about in this episode. Mm-hmm. But I then again played it for another like 2 hours after that, probably. The next morning I wake up, I come back to my mini PC. I'm like, gonna keep streaming Trails, and I turn it on. Oh no. Cloud save gone again.
Oh no.
No cloud save.
Oh no.
So at this point I'm like, I don't know what to do with myself. I decide to step away for like a day or two. Then I wake up and someone tags me in the Discord and is like, hey, guess what? It's out on Switch now. You can download the demo on Switch. So now I'm like, I'm just going to play it on Switch. Like I am not going to fiddle with the cloud saves of it all. And the Switch 1 to Switch 2 paid upgrade, it turns out, I just learned this, is only $1.
Oh, wow. Nice.
It's incredible. Yeah.
Amazing.
You get the impression it's just because I think in Japan legally they have to charge for it. Like, and I can't imagine that they have it for any reason other than that law, because $1 is nothing.
So with that being the case, I am now further in the demo than I had made it in those other sessions. But I have played through, I guess, like 2 or 3 hours of the demo now 3 times.
Oh boy. So what part have you gotten to?
Yeah, so I am past Purzel Farm, and I'm doing all that side quest cleanup before you move on.
Very nice.
Right. Okay.
That's where I'm at the moment. So I just did the bit where I like trained the troops, quote unquote, by beating the shit out of them.
I love that.
It's a great sequence. I love that bit.
It is.
And now I'm going to get a mushroom for that guy who
Orvid the Mushroom Man.
Yeah, Orvid. Yeah, who extremely rude man. Who honestly, I was playing that sequence and then immediately sat down to watch an episode of The Gilded Age with dinner, and like. That's the vibe. I don't know if either of you have watched The Gilded Age or like Downton Abbey or anything like that, but like Orvid would fit right in with the cast of both of those television programs.
That's where he belongs.
But that's as far as I've made it. But there's a lot to say about it still. I think it's fantastic. I assume both of you have finished it.
Yeah. Oh, there's a lot. Yeah, I haven't finished it either.
Oh, you haven't? Okay.
I started a new job this week and it's been crazy. I'm a lawyer.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good job. And I'm really excited about it, but it's also been a lot of hours, so I'm very close to the end, but not quite.
Well, first of all, congratulations.
Thank you.
But second of all, I'm sorry you didn't finish the demo yet.
But it's a long weekend, so
yeah,
it's gonna work.
I also played through the demo on PS5 for me, and I did finish it to the detriment of the section of Sky SC I was meant to be playing for our actual podcast that week. It was just so addicting. I did try it on Switch as well. Actually, I'm not sure. Is the demo Switch and Switch 2, or is the demo only the Switch version?
Demo's just Switch 1, yeah, which is very interesting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Then it runs really good for a Switch 1 game.
It's like miraculous. It is beautiful.
I saw someone streaming it from a Switch 1 and I was like, this might be the best looking game on Switch 1. Like, it's up there.
I think it is. I truly think it is. I couldn't believe that it looked as good as it did while I was playing it, and then downloaded it on Percy at my wife's Switch One, just to be like, I gotta see it running on like a Switch One with my own two eyes. And I saw her playing it, and it looks amazing. It's remarkable. I don't know what Falcom's doing over there, but they sure have mastered the Nintendo Switch. I'll say that much.
Damn.
Right on time.
For record, I'm playing on Steam Deck, just so we all have a different console or a different setting, which is fun. It's also great there.
Beautiful. Yeah.
It ran really well on the Switch 1 version, I guess. And I do like the idea of being able to take it portable, but I am going to stick with the PS5 version because I had to replace my TV when it broke not too long ago, and it can do the 120 frame per second mode, like the high frame rate.
Nice.
And it looks so good. It looks amazing at 60 frames, sure, but it's a little bit crisp in the graphics. Kind of a little anti-aliasing could come into play. And one thing they warn about in the high speed mode is that it can soften the image to kind of compensate, and it actually looks amazing. Like, it softens all those edges that would just sort of grate on me a little bit. It just feels a little, not unpolished, but, it's not something you'd see in a PlayStation Studios game. They would never let it go out the door that way. But that softening from doing the high frame rates makes it feel much more like a cartoon, sort of softer edged. It reminds me of the PS3 era Tales of RPGs, where they went for that very sort of like high saturated color, kind of cartoonish look. That's another nostalgia hit on top of just playing this game again immediately. Yeah. So I'm really enjoying it. Just running around, Estelle's pigtails flapping in the wind, beautifully animated. It's wonderful. It's very easy to get distracted and just stand there spinning her on the spot because it just looks nice. Yeah,
it's amazing. I spent so much time that first time I sat down with the demo, just like literally when you get to Roland and you're just like standing in the middle and you can hear the like hustle and bustle of the town. But I spent so much time just staring, which is a thing I do in real life also. Anybody who knows me knows this about me, but like I just stared at the clouds and the sky for a while, and I was just watching like the airships go by and literally leaving trails in the sky. I was just like in awe. I put this in like the pantheon of anime art styles adapted into 3D video game graphics. Like it's up there with it's like gorgeous. Dragon Quest 11 for me and Visions of Mana, which I think are like the two maybe best, with like I guess like a Street Fighter in there if you want to throw a Street Fighter in there. But like I think this game is stunning looking, and I think it looks good enough that it will probably turn the heads of a lot of newcomers to the franchise, which is I think the big hope here.
Yeah, it's Falcom developed an in-house engine that it first used for Daybreak, the first Daybreak game. So they've made 3 games, I guess, now in like the mainline series now, 2 that are now out in English, the first 2 Daybreaks, and then the one that's coming out in English in January, Beyond the Horizons. But this looks better than all of those. Like there's a different art style to it, even though it's clearly the same engine, and it's better than even the game they put out in September 2024, like head and shoulders better looking. Like I don't know what juice they put into that engine for this, but man.
I honestly think because all of the maps that I went to, at least in the prologue, are designed to exactly replicate the layout of the game
pretty much
from the original version. Like the tunnels are all the exact same in the sewer when you do your little bracer exam. I did a stop and stare because they had the same but ugly zigzag design on the walls in the sewers that they had in the original. Didn't want to polish that up at all. It's exactly the same.
As it should be.
I just got lost in that. But because the view is so tight, because they were something that could run on PSP, a much tighter map design means that they can pour more detail and love into it because they're not having to render a huge area. But then they flip around and say, oh yeah, but it's an entire like consistent world map. You can run from one end to the other without getting a loading screen, unless you go upstairs in a building or something.
Right. Yeah. Just walking in and out of buildings is kind of the only time that happens. And even then, I think it's so unbelievably charming that whenever there is a loading screen, you just see like the little PSP models of Estelle and Joshua just like
it's amazing
marching in the corner. It's really great.
And just whoever's in your party is gonna,
Yes.
I think it shows up and it's amazing.
It's so good. It's so good.
It's so cute. Like later in the demo when Shara joins, like all three of them are walking in a line on your loading screen, and it actually made me a little bit sad that loading is so fast on PS5 because I just wanted to see my friends hanging out more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't really notice that when I was playing on PSP, when I was playing on PC initially. But now that I'm on the Switch version, there's longer load times, and I get to see the little cute models doing their
They're
thing.
so cute.
As far as the layout of the game, it sure seems like not much has changed. The script is a rewrite from the original Japanese, not the translation that was previously on the PC ports and everything. So it's a different take on the same flavor. How has everyone felt in comparison to sort of original experience so far?
I'm feeling very positive about it, is how I'll put it.
Me too. I was very worried when I heard about this, and I'm really relieved.
Yeah, I think a lot of it has to do with just the amount of care put into the cutscenes from a visual perspective, just like a cinematic perspective, like
Yeah.
where they're placing the cameras and putting character models and the blocking of all those shots and stuff. Like, I think it does add a lot to, as somebody who, again, has Groundhog Day'd this part of the game so many times, like really feel like I'm having a completely new experience with it. Because even the bits of dialogue that I remember have now changed slightly. But the small changes here and there that I have noticed, I've been pretty like stoked about. Like there hasn't been anything where I'm like, it would ruffle my feathers at all. Like there's a whole contingent of people on the internet who are like, how dare you censor my video game because something has changed, which is like, the completely bananas thing. I mean, for me, I'm just like happy to be seeing these characters in full 3D and playing this game with all these quality of life improvements and all this other stuff. So it could be worse, and I would probably still be playing this version, I think, realistically.
Yeah, I really appreciate that they've preserved a lot of the goofiness of the original script. They haven't tried to like cool it up for a modern audience or whatever.
Appa what?
Appa what?
Appa what is like one of my favorite moments, I think, in a video game this year. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do think that's so important though, right? Like that quirkiness and that like silliness of it is so endearing, and this entire game is the literal foundational bedrock of why people will love this entire franchise. So having everything just be like, we're having a chill, cool time. We're new bracers. Isn't that great? Let's just like bop around and run errands for the nice people in town. That's going to be so endearing to a whole subsect of RPG fans who are going to be coming into this having played Dragon Quest or Final Fantasies, or coming hot off the heels of Expedition 33, where it's like everything is horrible all the time. There's a big dark overlord who is going to rule the world if he gets the crystals, et cetera, et cetera. And this game is like, hey, can you go find a mushroom for me? Thanks, buddy.
I actually saw a little interview clip. Gung Ho, the publisher, has been publishing little clips of interviews with the president of Falcom, Toshihiro Kondo. And he talked a bit about how they went out of their way to make the monster animations and designs a little sillier, a little goofier for this game. Like they really put a lot of thought into making them like extra charming and like kind of funny in a way that, even though some of the same monster designs have been used in later games in 3D, they weren't like necessarily animated to be goofy, and they really put thought into making that happen for this, which I noticed that already. Like they are silly monsters a lot of the time. And I just love that. I love the intentionality of the charm and the goofiness.
Yeah.
I really like the first time I met the new Shining Poms. They really got to glow up in this game.
Oh, yeah.
Seriously.
They have their little angelic wings. They fly around. They have cute little like evasion animations because their whole thing is that they're hard to hit.
Yeah.
I also noticed that if you do leave them unattended on the field after you've sort of entered their range of vision, eventually they just like yeet.
Yes.
They ascend.
They flap their wings and just zoom up into the sky in a beam of light. And it's like, well, you missed your chance.
Yeah.
All of the animations are beautiful, and I love, the characterization is really important. Like, the one I was talking to Lex about just before we started recording was when Estelle finds out there's no written test for the bracer exam.
Yes, such a good moment.
She thanks Adios for sewers.
Yes.
That's such a weird line, and they kept it. It's really important for the characterization because I've been playing SC and FC simultaneously with this demo, and seeing Estelle as a character having gone through the journey of FC and how she's behaving in chapter 2 of that game versus where she is at the start of this journey, there's a lot of character growth that's coming in this game, and it's really stark contrast to see it in that way.
Well, still clearly being the same Estelle we know and love, obviously, but it's like you really Estelle's character, the whole duology, because the third game's a bit different, but the first the Sky FC and SC are just really ultimately about Estelle's growth and her like coming of age experience, and her Joshua's like relationship. Joshua too has a big arc, but it's really about Estelle's arc and growth. So like her characterization is like the key. Like the whole game falls apart if you don't have the Estelle character doing what that character does, what that character writing accomplishes. For me, that's the bedrock of the game, is Estelle's writing. I also just want to say, when we mentioned the Shining Palms, because every time they come up, I say this, hoping it'll happen. I want a plushie of a Shining Palm so damn badly, and it doesn't exist. And I just need to keep putting that into the universe until somebody hears me say this who can make it happen. So every time it comes up, I just have to say that. I want that plushie.
I feel like somebody out there can make a homebrew one, right? Like it doesn't need to be mass produced. I think somebody can make one for you. I believe. Somebody
at Anime Expo in Artist Alley was selling one, and friend of the show, Emily, went to try and get me one, and they were sold out by then and weren't sure they were going to make more.
Of course they were.
It's a very Shining Palm. It's very on brand for Shining Palm.
It is, right? Exactly. It is. I had a real life Shining Palm experience. I really did.
I do think in some way the Shining Palm fights, they do, in my opinion, make use or at least showcase what is so great about this combat system, this dual like real-time action and then turn-based combat hybrid that they have here, which is the thing that started with Daybreak, correct?
Yeah, they've been refining it each game since Daybreak.
And we're now starting to see in other series, which I think is great. I think it's like, in my opinion, kind of the ideal future for turn-based combat. I would obviously want some games to just still have like regular turn-based combat, and some should have real-time combat, etc. But I do think in terms of kind of broadening the scope of the audience for these kinds of games, having something like this, I think is really strong. And the Shining Palm fights, I think, really highlight all of the little intricacies of this combat in this game in particular, because when you're fighting them, you need to work so hard so quickly to stagger them so you can get that like party advantage immediately, which is probably worth mentioning very quickly. But like as you're hitting enemies with real-time combat, they have a health meter. Obviously it's going down as they get whacked in the face with the staff, but their stagger meter is also going up. And if you're hitting enough enemies quickly enough, you can raise this other meter that'll allow you to use your craft in the real-time combat section. What that'll do is that'll like stun the enemy where they are, and then you can launch as soon as they're stunned, you can press a button and then launch into the turn-based combat. And if any of the enemies around you are stunned and you launch into turn-based combat, you start with party advantage, which allows you to do a bunch of other stuff, like have a kind of Persona-style follow-up attack immediately as soon as the battle starts, or all this other stuff.
Yeah, I love those.
But that give and take, especially in the Shining Palm fights where like speed is paramount, I find that anytime I see one on the field, I'm like, okay, I've been having a very relaxed time playing Trails in the Sky, and I need to lock in just for like 2 minutes for this one fight.
And then also adding in the perfect dodge that will then allow you to launch into the craft, and like it's really fun for that like quick bit of action combat, and then you launch into it's a really good, I think, hybrid of the two systems.
Yeah, I definitely depopulated most of Roland of the Shining Palms native to the area because I was just running back and forth finding them as much as possible.
Yeah.
And it is kind of fun. You have that risk reward of it is pretty easy to stun them in the overworld combat before going into the big fight. You just have to be quick and focused.
Mm-hmm.
You can definitely miss your shot, and that's how I know how they teleport away.
Same, yeah.
If you get it in, and then you smash them with a couple of saved up S-crafts, it's donezo. It's so nice how they are two separate combat systems, but they interweave so beautifully. You can just bounce from one to the other. It doesn't have to be a setup. You can finish a fight without ever going into the turn-based combat. There's not really much of a penalty to the XP and stuff that you get. It is nice to just kind of, in passing as you level up, even across this prologue, running back through areas, I could just sort of sideswipe enemies with my pole as I was running and just knock them to Gehenna.
Exactly. It's the best. Yeah. That was one of my favorite things about Metaphor at a certain point.
Yeah.
Is like when you're getting towards the post game or like towards the end game in Metaphor, there are some moments where you might want to travel back to other places that you've been, and being able to just like run through an entire dungeon and just like literally just wipe out everything without needing to go into turn-based combat at all until maybe there's one enemy you need to fight or whatever. It's a great feeling, and one that will be greater even, I think, in this game, the further in you get.
I think it helps also with the repetitiveness that you can sometimes feel in a turn-based game where you're entering where you're just fighting like low-level enemies, but still have to go into turn-based combat and go through the turns. And like, if you're doing that a lot, sometimes I think it can feel repetitive, whereas I think because you've got that mix of action and turn-based, it keeps it always feeling fresh. And I say this as somebody who loves turn-based combat. Like, I can sit there and like sometimes just like repeat a turn-based, like I can just do that repetition for ages and have a grand old time. But I know that it can get like, for people, especially people who aren't as sicko for turn-based combat as me, it can definitely get repetitive.
Yeah.
And I definitely think they've adjusted the turn-based combat in ways that really work in this game's favor to make that less repetitive as well. Things like the Daybreak style, being able to move around in the combat area rather than the locked sort of isometric grid that the original had. I love that kind of system. I love position-based RPG combat like that.
Yeah.
But Sky FC's is so restrictive. I don't think that I got to use Joshua's line attack craft one time where it hit more than one enemy at once.
And now you're hitting like 3 or 4.
It's a wider band. You can move around and position yourself beforehand, which makes taking advantage of like back attacks and side attacks and all that stuff much easier. Then they have this dual attack.
Yeah, the chain.
Which has sort of a meter similar to Cold Steel. I would say is sort of the most direct representation of having like a meter you can fill up to then spend on different attacks. In this one, so far at least, we only have like a 2-person attack. Interestingly, when you get to the point where you have more than 2 people in your party, it's just comboed with whoever's closest. So you do constantly get a mix. They're not like specifically paired the way they were in Cold Steel.
Yeah.
I am curious if once we get to the point where we have a full party, they'll add a third attack, like the big rush attack, sort of the all-out attack equivalent from Persona for Cold Steel.
I could see that.
The UI almost betrays like that there might be something there.
Yeah.
They're positioned in a way that says there should be a third, yeah.
Yeah.
I hope so.
Which I am all for because that was great in the Cold Steel games. I love being able to stack up the meter and then just walk into a fight, get one advantage attack on one enemy, and then just drop a tactical nuke on the entire battlefield and walk away again.
The one thing I will say about those brave attacks, I think they're calling them, is that if you're playing in turbo mode, they don't slow down. They don't slow it down, so the input time is extremely short.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah, whereas in Cold Steel, they had adjusted, they had a similar sort of thing, but in Cold Steel, the input time was the same, even if you were in turbo. Hopefully they can patch that or something, because it is so quick. It's you have to kind of know what you have available and be ready to push the input the second it shows up. But also, most people who are new to the series aren't playing everything in turbo the way I do, so that might just be a very specific issue.
Percy has been playing the whole thing in turbo mode also. Every time I look over, I see her like playing in fast motion, so yeah.
I like try to remember to exit turbo mode if I want to take a screenshot, because like I don't like having the turbo sing in the corner, but
totally.
I live for turbo mode. And then running in turbo mode is just so fast. It's a thrill.
One last thing before we move on from combat. I have to say, the art animations for spellcasting are top tier.
Yeah.
Every spell looks like the best spell in the game.
Yes.
It's amazing. There's it's like the Soul Blur, the very basic space attack that Joshua starts with.
Soul Blur is so rad.
You're setting like 3 killer frisbees at your enemy. The next move up in the space chain is Shadow Spear, which is always kind of like an average attack. But in this, you develop a summoning circle like 12 feet across directly above the enemy, and then a spear the size of them stabs down out of it into them. And it's just like a big obsidian dagger that a giant dropped on their head. And then that's just like a low-level magic spell, so...
I can't wait to see White Gehenna.
I love that.
I literally got the reward in the little achievements menu for using 20 types of spells just because I wanted to see every single animation I could get access to at this point.
That's awesome.
And I love the fact that you can see them pull out their orbment when they're using an art.
Yeah.
Like you can see the character model pull out the thing, their little pocket watch thing, and hold it. I don't know, something about that just tickles me.
Can you unlock all the slots in the prologue? Have you gotten enough Scepted to do that?
Not quite.
I haven't done it. You technically can. I imagine that you could grind your way to it, but in the original game, I I would never unlock it until the final chapter, like all of them. I'd have most, but not all. But
in playing the demo through, I didn't spend a lot of time grinding other than like pom hunting a couple of times just to tip over into the next level.
Yeah.
But I had all but 2 slots unlocked on Joshua and all but 1 on Estelle.
Wow.
You can unlock them, and I think they then have an upgrade tier as well.
Oh, they have.
Which they didn't have in FC originally.
Cool.
But they added it in SC. You could upgrade the slots to hold more powerful quartz. So I think if I'm able to unlock it that quickly, that early, it must be sort of recursive.
Yeah, there's gotta be some kind of, yeah, that's very interesting. I was wondering because I'm kind of getting close to having the amount of Septith I need to unlock another slot for Estelle. So yeah, I was wondering how quickly you could race through that, especially just in the prologue.
It's pretty fast. Like, I was just making sure to check in and see if I could upgrade, because the way they're sort of weighted in how much they cost, they'll be sort of a mixture of different values, but it'll be mostly 30 per Sepith type, 35, 40, 45. Then Joshua has 2 that are like 150 and 250 or something, so it's obviously meant to hold him back a bit longer.
Because one of his lines is longer, yeah.
But for the most part, it was just a very incremental, and it's kind of a push at the end. So it makes it seem like you could probably get close, and then maybe in chapter 1, you'd unlock the full range at least.
Yeah. And progress carries over into the main game,
yes,
dear listener, which is wonderful with this demo.
The best kind of demo.
The best kind of demo.
Thank gosh.
Yeah. Makes me very happy.
God, I hope this game is in GOTY conversations this year.
Actually, this is a thing that I meant to ask the two of you, or I wanted to pick your brains about, because I've been thinking a lot about remakes in general and like the reason for remakes and why, you know, there's a very clear, I think, line between a remake and a remaster, which is, you know, not a thing that we need to litigate here. But I think when it comes to a company deciding to do a ground up remake of a video game, there are a lot of ideas and a lot of expectations that are poured into that, right? Like, I think one very high profile one that's happening right now is the Metal Gear Solid 3 remake, which is out right now, Metal Gear Solid 3 Delta, which, I mean, there's a very cynical read of why that game got remade, and then there are some more positive ones, which is like, hey, that game could use some quality of life improvements and some better controls and things like that. And then on the other hand, it's like, can we remove Kojima from the entire history of this franchise? That's another half of it, which is a little dubious. But with Trails in the Sky, the feeling I have about it is like, this is Falcom really just trying to highlight to a completely new audience that this is a great franchise that should exist in the collective memory and in the conversation. And I'm curious how you feel about this demo in terms of its ability to accomplish that. Because for me, when I think of what I want out of a real remake, like if you're gonna remake a game and not just port it or not just remaster it, I want it to be transformative enough that it can kind of stand on its own. So if you are done with the remake, you could feel compelled, hypothetically, to go back and play the original, and you could feel like you would have a different experience. But that's just me. I'm curious how you both feel about, I guess, all of that.
I think I have thoughts that go into like a couple different sections. The first, just generally about remakes. I think video games are really interesting for this conversation because of the way the technology has advanced so much in the last, let's say, 20 years, but obviously before that too. And I sometimes compare that to, you know, silent films that got remade once talkies existed, and black and white films that got remade, not just like remastered and added in color, but like actually remade once color film was a thing. And not all of those were better, but there was a clearer reason because there was an ability to add a dimension to the storytelling and to the craft that just didn't exist before. And so I think some video games seem to fall into that area. Sometimes I think there are video games that there's actually an interesting angle or dimension, something transformative that you have to say about it that you didn't necessarily have to say the first time, or that, you know, whether that's a new context, a new societal, cultural, personal, whatever thing that you're bringing to it and commenting on. Obviously, there are remakes that are just like cash grabs. And then sometimes there's remakes just for when that's the better option for game preservation, or when that's seen as the better option for game preservation. And that's obviously something you can like go back and forth on. Like, is that really game preservation? Not exactly, but is that if that's the best way to sort of preserve the game at all? And I think Falcom's in a really interesting place because one of the issues Trails in the Sky has always had is there's widely believed to be a big licensing conundrum going on with the original Sky trilogy, which is why it's not on Switch or on PlayStation or anything in English. It is in Japan, but they switched who their publishers were out west after Cold Steel 2, I think. And it's believed that the reason that that there's some sort of like complicated licensing thing going on, because otherwise it doesn't make sense why in Japanese it's available on all platforms and it's not in English. In a way, this also kind of seems like Falcom's like, well, if we're ever going to get Sky available on anything other than Steam, we're kind of going to have to do something. So we can either, have a whole new translation of the original game and then publish the original game on on Switch, or maybe we just remake it.
Wow, it's like the Taylor's versions of Taylor Swift's albums.
It's the Taylor's versions, yeah. It's, this is the 10-minute version of All Too Well, right? Like, it's kind of like that, though I don't think Xseed and Falcom have a contentious relationship the way Taylor Swift and Scooter Braun did. I think that's a dimension of it. Getting it on Switch in English, especially since the English translations came out so much later than the Japanese versions did. Until very recently, by the time a Trails game came out in English, it was already outdated. Like, in 2011, Trails in the Sky came out in English on PSP, but it was a 2004 game in Japan. Like, it was already dated,
right,
just as an experience, even though I love it and I think it holds up in a lot of ways. But I think what is always the big fear for me when something gets a remake, and this might be more true of, movies, TV shows, whatever, than it is of games necessarily, there's always kind of the fear that you're going to realize whoever's making this remake doesn't love the original thing as much as you did, like doesn't understand what made it special, doesn't care about it. And obviously that's more likely when whoever's doing the remake isn't the same creative team as the original, though sometimes it's a creative team that loves it as much.
Yeah.
But there's something really rewarding about playing this game and being like, there's so much love in every single, like, pixel of this thing.
Yes.
There's so much love for the original. There's so much reverence for these characters and this story and this world, and none of the changes are being made as a diss on the original,
Yeah.
When it was first announced that there was a remake coming out, I was like, that's great that people will get to play it, but I don't really care so much, and now I care a lot. I'm really excited. I didn't expect to care this much, or to be this excited for the remake.
I think for me, because I've spent the last 15 years working as a games reviewer, so I'm very used to sort of analyzing games as I play them. With remakes and remasters, there's definitely a side of it that can be the cash grab, the cynical or the lazy remaster, where it's just sort of been ported to a new platform to maintain the rights or just cash in again. But you can definitely tell the difference when a game has been remade with love and care for someone who knows and appreciates the source material for what it is, not for the intellectual property it represents.
Mm-hmm.
It is clear playing this version of the game that they probably had a stronger push to make this remake after Zero and Azure were released in English, because those were two games that the party line was always that they weren't released because they didn't think they would really sort of hit in an English language, and it was a big project, and it just didn't seem to be worth the investment.
And they were so far behind already in the localization.
And they were so far behind. And then there was just a real shift in the normal narrative, which is that a fan translation popped up from people who loved the game. They worked on it till completion, released it. The original makers of the game found out and hired them.
Right.
Instead of setting lawyers on them. And they're just like, hey, yeah, that's great. And it is very faithful, and just hired the entire team of people who'd been working on that fan translation. So all of their names and I think usernames are in the credits for Zero and Azure.
Yeah.
So cool.
For working on that translation, because they were going to move on to Azure next anyway, and then they just got bolstered by Falcom saying, do it in-house.
Right.
And that's how we got this game so quickly. They went off in sales because people were like, excellent, I can play this game for real, and I don't have to learn how to patch a ROM or whatever the barrier to entry might have been. And that kind of pushed, we do need to get a move on Sky, because if people love this old game, they'll love that old game.
Mm-hmm.
And at the same time, it's kind of a convergence where the cozy game market is such a big thing at the moment. Everything's claiming to be cozy, and Trails in the Sky FC is quintessentially a cozy RPG. It's very tightly focused. There's a limited cast of people you meet over and over again to feel familiar. It's a very personal story. Even the way the game is laid out, I was flabbergasted to stand in like the exact center of Roland and turn in 3 different directions and see out the gates.
Yeah.
And see the entire landscape stretching off into the distance. You can see down the roads because everything is loaded together. You can climb up the clock tower. Lex and I both jumped into your stream when you were playing the demo originally, and climbing up the watchtower, the clock tower, and being able to get that big panoramic view where you can see their house in the distance. Later in the demo, I was at the top of Jade Tower at one point and realized that just over the mountains to one side, you could see the peak of Grancel Castle from the capital.
I actually teared up. It was embarrassing. I was like...
It's amazing. It's so cool.
Even in the originals, like when you got to the top of those towers, they had gone to the trouble of doing these big custom bitmaps of just like the landscape stretching out below so you could see the ocean off in the distance, the hills or whatever. And seeing that recreated, but just 1,000 times more detailed. Amazing. Having just played this game for the first time, I'm having this wonderful of a time. There's folks like Lex, players who played it back in 2004, who've been waiting just as long. It feels like this is the good kind of remaster. This is the FF7 remake style remaster of this game. It's ground up. It's keeping everything that's good about the game. It's tweaking a little bit to make it modern. And man, side quest markers on the overworld map. That's a real game changer
so
for
good.
Trails in the Sky.
So good.
Fast travel.
You can't go wrong.
And I love how they limit it sometimes so that, like, when they want you to walk through and get the active dialogue with party members.
Yeah.
But other times when there's no advantage to doing the walk, they just let you fast travel everywhere.
Yeah, which I do think, I mean, AJ, friend of the show, was in chat as well when I unlocked fast travel and was like, a little bit contentious about the existence of fast travel in this game, which I understand, because I do feel like part of the appeal of this franchise as a whole is the clock-like intricacy of the world building. Is this like, it feels like playing this game is walking directly into a world that is fully formed.
Yeah.
Almost like Tolkien Lord of the Rings level. Everything has already been thought of, and you're just experiencing what happens to be a story in a world that could contain any kind of story.
Yeah.
Part of that charm, I think, is kind of the need to walk back and forth. It's almost like playing a Yakuza or like a Dragon game, where it's like you play enough of them and then you know Kamurocho like the back of your hand. Like you know how to get from Pink Street to Theater Square really easily. And I do think the introduction of fast travel in some ways does undo that a little bit. But for people like us who have played the game before, or people like me who have played the beginning of the game many, many, many times, it's very helpful to have a little bit of a shortcut here and there when possible.
And I liked that. I really like that it's not just absolute unlimited fast travel, because I think like there are advantages to having fast travel, but there is something taken away, and I like that they're kind of trying to make up for it. There's one other thing I wanted to say about the question of remakes that I thought of as Matt was talking, and that is this is really, really relevant game once you get later into it in ways that it doesn't broadcast. There were moments in the final chapter when we were recording about the final chapter of FC where I was like, I cannot believe this game from 2004 is talking about this and that I'm playing it right now in 2025 when XYZ is happening in the world. Like, this is so fucking topical. Like, I think that there is a need or a reason for this game and the story it's telling to be told right now in 2025. And I'm not sure you've gotten quite to that point. You might have seen some of it in FC when you've gotten there. But I think without, like, it's never, like, dire and depressing, but it has something to say that I think really resonates today. So I think from that perspective, there's also a purpose to this remake that I think will become evident later on. And I'm very excited to see how they tackle that stuff.
Hell yeah. Yeah, I think for me, just the larger scale feeling I have about this, and it stemmed from such an innocuous question, which is something that you brought up already, but like, oh, does this count for Game of the Year? Like, is this a Game of the Year contender technically? Because like, Steven and I, usually when we're doing Game of the Year stuff, deliberations for Into the Aether, like, we have that question about a couple things here and there. There are some games where it's like, does this count? Yes or no? Like, oh, this came out like right at the end of 2024. Does this count for 2025's Game of the Year, et cetera, et cetera? And in the case of remakes and remasters and stuff, sometimes it's like, does this really count? Is this transformative enough to be considered its own thing? Like, are you having experience with this that you wouldn't have elsewhere? Like, for me, Persona 3 Reload, in my opinion, was enough of a transformative experience that it, I think, stands apart as its own entity. It's just yet another way of playing Persona 3's story, but is different enough that there are merits to choosing that one over others, and therefore if it can stand alone against its ilk, then it can stand alone as an entity that would
Sure, yeah.
hypothetically be considered for Game of the Year. Point being, I feel very similarly about Trails in the Sky First Chapter. Like already, just based on what I played of the demo, it's like this is definitely a game that will be a contender for Game of the Year. I think there's no question in my mind that it is like its own thing entirely. I mean, even down to the script level, as we've already talked about, like there are different scripts in each one. They're largely the same. But the fact that characters are saying different bits of dialogue, I think, is enough of a change in itself. Not to mention literally everything else that's happening.
Yeah, the gameplay experience is completely different.
Yeah.
And there's definitely like additions and expansions to the script. Like a lot of the core scenes, like the whole intro sequence, that wonderfully directed intro with Estelle hanging out at the house is very faithful. But they add extra lines, extra sort of expansions to the lesser cutscenes. Not to mention you've got party chat as you're running around.
So good.
Personal green flag is that those party chats continue when you go through a map transition.
Yeah.
So if you walk into a house mid-conversation, they keep talking. How many conversations have I cut off in every Tales of game? Most of them. It's little like considerations like that that's like show that it's paying attention to what people want, because people want to hear everything they have to say. Like this game is about talking to everybody every time. Like missing out on dialogue feels like a betrayal, and they don't want that. So you can listen to everything all the time. Dialogue doesn't layer up as far as I can tell. You can't sort of trigger multiple dialogues that I sometimes find with those kind of voice cues in games.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, just a lot of like quality of life stuff.
Yeah.
It just incentivizing you to keep playing. I'm still very excited to have just a green exclamation mark over the guild board when there's new guild requests to take on.
It's so good.
That's going to save me a lot of heartache.
Yeah, absolutely.
It felt like a real victory lap when I replayed the prologue and actually did the side quests that I fully biffed it on the first time round. I just did not check the board and I missed like 3 side quests, so I was a little bit behind the rest of the game. So I was like, I found that kid's rock.
Yes.
Now I feel like a true gamer.
On this run through my third run through the prologue on the Switch,
Oh my God.
I had like autopiloted my way back into the sewer to pick up the rock, and then was like, I never checked the board and picked up the quest or talked to the kid. I just like went back into the sewer and fought through all the enemies again, and was like, I was like, shouldn't the rock be here? Yeah, Appa what? Yeah.
Exactly.
Where's the rock? And then I was like, oh my God, yeah, there's like 8 other steps I need to figure out before I can come back and pick up the rock. So funny.
I think the one last like major change to this version that we haven't really touched on is the full voice acting in English.
Yeah.
Even though we keep saying Appa what, so we are already kind of talking about it. You're playing in English, clearly. At least you were playing in English when I saw your stream. I don't know if you've changed.
On playthrough 1.
Yeah, I'm not anymore, actually.
Oh,
I usually
wow.
don't. Yeah, usually if given the option for Japanese games, I'll play them with Japanese voice acting. But when I was streaming, I just asked chat. I was like, what do you want to hear? And most people wanted to hear the English voice acting. So I was like, okay, cool, I'll do that. So I played through all of that bit with the English voice acting, and now I'm playing it in Japanese.
Yeah.
What's interesting is that in Japanese, it's an entirely new cast for these characters. But in English, it's the same people who did the combat barks back in the PSP version.
Yeah.
Which is pretty wild.
With the exception of, I think, Olivier is now voiced by Matt.
In the demo so far, all the combat people are. But yes, Olivier was Troy Baker originally and is now Matt Mercer. And I think most of them are the same, though. And Joshua and Estelle certainly are. But overall, just the experience of having voice acting. There was Japanese voice acting in the Evo versions that only came out in Japan. But there was not full voice acting in the original game, and certainly not in English. How's everyone's experience so far?
I'm really enjoying it. Like I recognize the voices because at least Joshua and Estelle are the same voice actors who have played those roles for voiced lines in later games.
Yeah.
So it felt like a real sort of return home. But at the same time, they're affecting their voices in a different way because of character growth. So Estelle sounds younger than I'm used to hearing her, and Joshua sounds different to how I'm hearing him.
Yeah.
And so it's nice to see that they've kind of kept that through line. Also a bit startling because I'm used to hearing about 6 lines of dialogue from those two in a folder I keep on my desktop of voice lines to use in the podcast.
Yes.
So hearing like a crisp HD cut of "Hey, we're good to go" is
Wild.
startling. But then when she keeps talking, I was like, I had to keep reminding myself.
That folder's about to get real beefy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I can't wait to capture stuff. It's really great because I prefer the English voice acting because I like to be able to just set it to auto and let all the cutscenes play out. I've noticed that the timing on the auto is really well directed. There's not lots of long gaps, except for when they do a ellipsis that's like 16 full stops in a row, and it is the appropriate length for that.
Classic,
that I'm not a fan of. I will skip those lines, but everything else is really well timed. Even because I've just come off playing the whole story, I know stuff to look out for that are going to be sort of signposts for what's coming.
Some foreshadowing.
And there was one cutscene, won't spoil it because obviously this would be a real kick in the pants to say thank you for coming on our show. Now let us tell you exactly how this game ends.
Yeah.
There's a moment during the course of this prologue where there was just like a blink and you'll miss it kind of thing. And I caught it this time because I knew what I was looking for. And it was really great to see that it was presented in a way that if you were on auto, it's just as brief as it should be to kind of make you start asking questions, but it doesn't sort of say, look what we're doing over here. I can't wait for Olivier though.
Yeah, one thing I noticed just in terms of the directing and timing was at one point when a character is saying goodbye to Estelle and Joshua, they go, Estelle, Joshua, and the head turn to look from one to the other was exactly in time with them saying the name. And I was like, that's such a little thing, but I love that they timed it right.
Yeah.
Just so much care. But yeah, how are the Japanese voices though? Because they're new actors.
So far, so good. Yeah, I'm enjoying it. Yeah, they're expressive, at least in the ways that I would hope. Yeah, I'm very happy with it. It's worth mentioning I don't speak Japanese. Like I know very little, just from having spent a lot of time there very recently. But what I am picking up is really solid. Yeah, I don't know. I have no complaints at all. Yeah, I'll probably play through the rest of it in Japanese, realistically.
Are they similar in sort of like cadence and delivery to the English voices, just from having the comparison from playing it?
Yes, which is a thing that's not always the case.
Yeah.
Sometimes characters can feel extremely different between voice casts, which I think is usually a positive. I think that's it's nice to have multiple interpretations of characters. Obviously, that's how acting has worked since Shakespeare. But I feel like in the case of this game, it's pretty much in line. Like Estelle sounds like Estelle in both voice casts, which is cool. And same with Joshua.
Estelle's just bilingual.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad it works for them because not every character gets the same thing. Kazuma Kiryu, you couldn't get an English voice for Kiryu that sounded like Japanese Kiryu unless you taught the Japanese VA English.
Right.
I think that's the only way.
Yeah, I don't know how you would do that.
To just get that level of like rumble and grumble.
Yeah, look at the Dragonball movie if you want to see the live action Dragonball movie. Yeah.
Oh, you mean the best movie of the 2000s?
Yeah, it's the best movie famously everyone's favorite movie from the 2000s. Goku as a normal guy.
I love Green James Marsden.
What a bizarre movie that is. I don't even know why that popped into my head.
I went to watch that movie a couple of weeks ago because I just had like a sick urge. I was like, I want to watch trash.
Hell yeah.
And so I put that on and I didn't even get through it. I saw his bike get run over and then I think that's about where I opted out because I was just like, no, it's not good.
Yeah. What a film.
I've never seen this. I might have to. I don't know if I should change that now. I kind of think I have to.
No, just play more Trails. Don't submit yourself to this.
Or like watch original Dragon Ball.
If you're gonna watch a bad movie, watch the new War of the Worlds. You should do that instead.
Huh. Okay. Duly noted.
The one with Ice Cube on Amazon.
I have heard that is also trash.
It's good trash.
I have heard that.
Yeah, it's good trash. Yeah, would recommend. It's one hell of an experience. Anyway.
Speaking of trash, is there any news for anyone in the room? Any trash garbage news?
Any trash garbage news? Might even call it the worst garbage.
Oh.
Am I introducing this or are you introducing this?
I don't know.
I don't know. You know what? That was great. You got to go for it now with that dunk.
Wow, I'm so proud to announce that my podcast, Trails Through Trails, is joining the Worst Garbage Podcast Network. I'm so glad that you invited me on as the third host forever.
Forever and ever.
Yep.
And we're doing the show together.
We're actually gonna dip now, so if you could just keep playing Sky, that'd be great.
No, you two are joining the network as of this episode.
Yes, we're very excited about it. We are very excited. We're very flattered to be asked.
Very kindly, you looked at our show and like, yeah, that looks like garbage to me.
Sure does.
And we agree. It's very nice to be joining.
You know, can I drop some TWG lore
Ooh.
here at the end of this episode?
Hell yeah.
The intention was to never tell anybody what TWG stood for initially. The whole idea was that it was going to be TWG, and that was the podcast network, and I would never tell anybody if they ever asked. And the whole idea was that it was a very prestigious podcast network, but secretly it was called The Worst Garbage.
Oh my god.
That was always the idea. And then at a certain point, I was like, I do need to buy a domain name though, and obviously, a 3-letter domain name is not available on the internet anymore and hasn't been since like 1998. So that went out the window real quick.
Yeah. How quickly did you introduce the stinger at the end?
Oh yeah, right. And then this stinger. Yeah.
I was curious if you're going to say whether like it was like reverse engineered to be the worst garbage. You just picked some letters and said, I figured it out later.
No, it just I wanted like a really classic like 3-letter radio network kind of thing, like a classic like news network.
BBC, TWG, NBC.
Exactly. Yeah, and I did want it to rhyme with all of those also. That was another big thing. Was I wanted it to feel like it would just fall in line with all the other ones, which is very silly. Anyway, congratulations. Welcome to the network.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming on personally to welcome us.
Of course.
It's like getting your hand-delivered invite.
There's a channel in the Discord now. You can go to theworstgarbage.online if you want to join the Discord, and you can chat about Trails all the time.
Yes.
Forever. Not that you couldn't before, but now you really can. Now it's bubbled up to the surface. Now it's not hidden in a thread within a different section. It's
right there.
Trails is right there. And honestly, it's great timing too, because like this, I mean, as we just talked about, like this demo in this game when it comes out, I have a hunch that a lot of people are going to get on board with the franchise because of this thing.
I think it's going to hit, yeah.
I'm hopeful for you two, obviously. That podcast gets a lot more listenership. I hope that people get like really infected with the sickness of this franchise. That's the goal.
Yeah, we're sickos and we're contagious.
That is the hope.
That's a disgusting sentence, but I gotta stick with it.
It's definitely an exciting time to have like a full season of a podcast ready to go for people who enjoy this game.
Yes.
Especially now that we know that it's very much the same game. It's
kind of a thrill to play and be like, oh, everything we talk about in the playthrough of the original, It all applies still. Every plot beat's still there.
Relevant.
It's all right there.
Yes.
As far as we know, I mean, in final chapter, Sephiroth could descend from the sky and change the timeline. We don't know for sure yet. But as far as we know, this is not a remake situation.
Could you imagine if they pulled a Final Fantasy VII remake with this thing and it really was, like, very different at the end?
I would be so curious where that would lead us, because the timeline's already bonkers. Like, they don't need any help.
Yeah.
Like, in less than 10 years, we're going to be having plot lines about, like, hate groups online and vapes. So...
Horrible vapes do exist. They do come about in Daybreak.
I love that for some reason in like fantasy video games, vapes are starting to show up, like in this franchise, and then also in Metaphor, like all the people were vaping in that city as well.
They have horrible hookahs too.
Awesome. What a great franchise.
It's so wild to see modern culture creeping into like these RPGs. I heard an anime use the phrase crash out yesterday. That really threw me for a loop.
Wow.
I wasn't expecting that.
We've arrived, folks. I wonder, because Falcom has said as a company, like there are only a couple games left in the franchise, at least that they have planned at the moment, right?
They have said that. They have lied about this before. I think they're telling the truth this time, but they have lied deliberately and then laughed about it. So we don't know for sure.
That is funny. I feel like you wouldn't lie about it and remake the first. Like you wouldn't start the next phase of your company transitioning into let's remake all the games in this engine unless you were pretty certain that it was going to wrap up, you know?
Yeah, I'm guessing we do 3, maybe 4 more games in the series. Like I think there's going to be another Horizons game, and then I'm guessing maybe 2 more games after that. Maybe just 1, maybe 3, but yeah. I'm guessing, for posterity, I'm guessing 3 more games from what's been released in Japan, not what's been released here.
Trails through Infinity War and then Trails through Endgame.
Former Marvel employee, are you giving us a little hint?
No.
It's It's what you've been...
That hint I was asking for was that there was a crossover now.
I wish.
Yeah, I was going to say, Trails Beyond the Horizon 3 crossover with Marvel, just, Iron Man showing up and asking what's on with these super vapes.
Yeah, Orbital Man.
Stark technology is going into orbits now.
Anyway, this demo was really good. Thank you for inviting me on to talk about it.
It's real good. You should play it if you haven't.
Absolutely, you should. Hey, it's free.
That's not a dig at you personally, Brandon. That's just for the listeners.
Yeah. I'll start it over as soon as we're done with this recording. I'll wipe my save and give the old college try.
Groundhog.
We've got 3 weeks now until the game for real comes out and exists in the world.
19th, September 19th.
Just enough time for me to play all of Hollow Knight Silksong. Thank God there's enough time.
Exactly. They gave you exactly enough time. This is what Team Cherry planned around.
I think so too. Yeah, I'm going to play Silksong until it's over, mainly because I want to keep playing Trails in the Sky when it comes out. Like, I want to make sure that my slate is clean for Trails, but also because I'm excited about Silksong.
Yeah, I'm so excited to play this game again immediately. Basically the same, just prettier. I'm down. I'm curious to get to the end, because at the end of the original, at least the PC port, there's a trailer for SC that was obviously made in production, because it's a lot of concept art scrolling past and stuff like that, mixed in with a few cutscenes. So if they do some replication of that to hint that there is an SC remake coming, that would make me very happy.
Cool.
Because the trailer for this remake, shot for shot, is a recreation of the first trailer for the original game.
Sick. So cool.
The very, very early trailer, like one of the ones before the character designs were even finalized, it was like a proto trailer, basically.
Back when it was just called The Legend of Heroes 6, not Trails in the Sky.
Failing that, I think, rights issues aside, if they're not dropping the entire Sky set on Switch and everything in about 6 months' time, they're really missing an opportunity, because that would be the perfect tide over until an SC remake can come out. So I cross my fingers for that, because, about 3 less interconnectors in my Sky setup would be really helpful.
That's that then.
I think that's about all there is to say about the demo for now. So thank you so much for joining us, Brendon. It was lovely to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. It was such a pleasure.
Would you like to share with the people where they could find your works?
Absolutely. Yeah, I think the best place to go is wavelengths.online. It has links to everything that I do, including that podcast and Into the Aether and NPC and all my writing and my YouTube, and everything is just at wavelengths.online. Probably the best place. There's a lot of stuff going on. I'm juggling a lot.
Truly an impressive amount of content. There's so much just sitting on my watch later list on YouTube still that I'm chipping my way. You've got to slow down. I'm trying to keep up.
Yeah, I really am trying to figure out if I should slow down for real. Not for my sake, but for everybody else's. Because I looked back recently at the amount of video that I've released in 1 month of doing this full time, and I'm like, that's too much for most people, I think. But thank you. I appreciate it.
And thank you, everyone, for joining us for an extra bonus episode of the Legend of Podcast, Trails Through Trails. If you'd like to hang out with us, you can find us at trailspod.online or theworstgarbage.online, where we were already hanging out on the Discord anyway, so we'll just continue doing that. Come say hi. You can also find us on Instagram, X the Everything app, and Blue Sky at TrailsPod. And please leave reviews. That would be nice.
Or send us an email at trailsthroughtrails@gmail.com.
Yeah, email us at trailsthroughtrails@gmail.com to let us know you've sent us a review, or with any other questions, comments, concerns, or words of encouragement to help Brendon get over the hump on this demo and reach the finish line.
I'm going to do it. I'm really going to do it this time. It's really going to happen.
It is. I believe it.
I believe in me. And you believe in me. Spirit Bomb. Hell yeah.
It is a real gut punch when you get to the end of the demo, save your prologue final save, and hit the continue button that they still have there, and then it just plays a trailer that's in like 480p for some reason.
Yeah, just to throw back to the PSP. I love it.
Yeah.
For now, that's all for this episode. We'll see you next time on the next real episode. Goodbye.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Hey, check it out, everyone. I get to put this at the end of the episode for the very first time. Here we go.
TWG, the worst garbage. Online.